Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says they're working on a winter plan to tackle load shedding. Ramokgopa says the first phase of the plan would run up until August. He is, however, urging people to use electricity sparingly, as this could reduce load shedding by one stage. That's if demand is reduced by households. Let's now unpack this with Professor Samson Mamphweli, an energy expert. Professor, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're hearing government saying that they're hoping to reduce demand by really using the back-to-basics approach, switching off geysers and so forth. What do you make of that plan? We've tried it before, and it didn't quite seem to bring the outcome that we were hoping for.
Good evening to you and the viewers. So what the minister referred to is what we call demand response or demand side management, which is part of what is proposed in the President's Energy Action Plan. In the past, through energy efficiency and demand side management, Eskom managed to reduce demand quite significantly. You will recall that sometime around 2007, 2008, until 2009, Eskom was running a very successful demand-side management program where they were changing the old bulbs that consume quite a lot of electricity with the new, replacing them with new technology, which is the CFLs, that were consuming less electricity. And by doing so, they managed to create what we call a virtual power station, which is basically the savings that go beyond 1,000 megawatts. So what the minister is saying, if that is properly implemented by households themselves, it will assist households also in terms of savings, because if you switch off your geyser at a particular time and then you only switch it on at a particular time, you are able to save, because the geyser takes a lot more electricity than your lights. So most of the households use more electricity on the geyser and also on cooking. I can't imagine that people who can afford at this particular point in time, with the current electricity challenges, they are still using geysers they are still having geysers on the whole day, and they are still using electricity for cooking. Many people would have switched by now to gas for cooking, and having some geyser control systems so that your geyser is not on the whole day, but is on maybe for 2 to 4 hours a day.
So with that in mind, do you think that perhaps the going back to basics approach would prove to be effective? Because we've been warned that South Africans will endure the worst winter on record this year as Eskom continues, of course, to implement these higher stages of load shedding.
So what will help the country, and I agree with the minister, that's a long-term saving on the side of the consumers. I also have a geyser control system at the house that I use that's connected through the internet, and I time it. And from the time I started doing that, I had huge savings, I must say. Now, in terms of the reduction of load shedding, yes, the demand side management or demand response initiatives also assist in terms of dealing with load shedding. We've got an example, a typical example of, I think it was Ghana at some point, where they had electricity challenges, and demand response and demand side management and energy efficiency measures were some of the measures that helped them quite a lot. So there is precedence in that. However, when you look at the South African challenge, it's not only that will assist us, it's the implementation of the entire energy action plan in its totality that will assist us. And I was quite happy listening to the minister today. He got his bearings in terms of implementation of that plan. He was articulating it quite well. He went deep into some of the things that need to be done, which are some of the things that we've been talking about. Fixing the existing coal fleet is one of those challenges. Dealing with the energy availability factor and the partial load losses in particular power stations. Those are some of the issues that need to be addressed. And he gave a detailed account what is going to be done in particular power stations. He mentioned specifically 4 power stations, Duba, Kriel, and Kusile being amongst those in terms of some of the work that will be done. Over and above that, the new generation capacity, the 3,000 megawatts gas project that he talked about, the procurement of a new generation capacity through the risk mitigation initiatives, the fast tracking of the bid windows, and the procurement of the 1,200 megawatts battery storage. Those are medium-term to long-term solutions that will assist us greatly, because when you look at the Energy Action Plan and what government is doing now, the target is to reduce the intensity of load shedding by December and to deal with it completely by the beginning of next year. And when you look at their plan, I'm very much confident at this particular point in time that it will work. However, the winter is still going to be a very difficult one for us. If anything, we should expect anything between stage 7 and stage 6 load shedding. And I think government is upfront on that as well.
What about government saying, talking about Chinese intervention when it comes with perhaps complying with that court order that will ensure uninterrupted power supply to clinics, schools, hospitals, police stations, and so forth? What do you think should form the basis of that agreement? Because we didn't really hear much detail about it, except that there is something on offer from the Chinese government.
Yeah, I also didn't hear much about it, and I'm still going to follow up on that to understand the kind of deal, because the minister talked about some donation coming from China, which he did not give further details. I think he needs to come out to the public and give us further details, because we know that if you have dealt with the Chinese before, everything when it starts as if it's a donation, but if you read the fine line, sometimes you may find that it's not necessarily a donation, or there's some form of catch after the donation. It may be used as a bait. So I'm very much looking forward to understand the nature and extent of the deal with the Chinese government, and how that deal is going to assist in terms of dealing with load shedding. If it's a straightforward deal where the Chinese government is saying, we will give you these solar panels and battery storage systems at reduced cost, then that one I would say we must go for it, and it will work. But if they're just saying we're coming and then we're bringing things, for free, I tend to wonder, what kind of a deal is that? And I'm looking forward to get the details from the Minister of Electricity on that.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the Minister of Electricity, I mean, we recently learned of the transfer of competencies, which was essentially 3 months in the making. What would you say that it was worth the wait? How meaningful really are his powers?
So if you look at the East powers, it's basically shared responsibility now between him and Minister Gordhan and Minister Mantashe. You remember that Minister Gordhan is still busy with the breaking up of Eskom into transmission, distribution, and generation. So that still remains within his powers. Dealing with issues at board level, political oversight, looking after the shareholders compact that the government has got with Eskom. So all that is still within the Minister Gordhan's powers. And then if you look on the other side, the powers that were taken away, partly with the powers that were taken away in terms of determination of new generation capacity, ministerial determination. And though that I understand, because the Minister of Electricity is now responsible for NECOM, which is the Energy Crisis Committee, that is dealing with the specifically load shedding measures to reduce, and also at a longer term to do away with load shedding. And part of NECOM, they've got the new generation capacity work stream that's looking at how much capacity do we need and from what sources. And that information will then be used to do ministerial determination alongside the integrated resource plan, which the Minister Mantashe is still the custodian of. And once that ministerial determination is concluded, then there's concurrence from NERSA, then the Minister of Electricity will basically pass it over to Minister Mantashe for implementation, and Minister Mantashe will then have to procure the new generation capacity in line with the provisions of the IRP, which also looks at grid capacity across the country, the location of the various projects, like what the Minister of Electricity was talking about today, in terms of the procurement of new generation capacity that has already been done in terms of the ministerial determination before he got the powers. So for me, that gave him, some gravitas in terms of streamlining the particular work that he's supposed to do, because it then gives him the authority to work with the various groups that are working to deal with the crisis and come up with proper solutions, even though some of the solutions he's not the implementer. Basically, he's not the implementer. Yeah. The implementers are ESCOM and the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy and Minister Gordhan.
Very well. Thank you so much. Perhaps let's leave it there for now. Thank you for your time.